It's no secret that despite its Eastern European setting, the coastal chapters of Half-Life 2 are heavily based on the northern reaches of US Route 101, which runs along the Pacific Ocean from Los Angeles to Washington State. If you look along either the Baltic or Black Seas in Eastern Europe, you will notice a rather flat terrain of farmland and lagoons, not the staggering cliffs, tunnels, and bridges that make the sections along Highway 17 so memorable. All of these things, however, you will find along Route 101. This makes sense, as Valve's headquarters lay just across the Puget Sound from the northern end of the highway. And it is easy to imagine that most of the people who made Half-Life 2 have driven along its winding pavement at some point in their lives, and probably been inspired enough to feature it in their game. Coastlines leave such a lasting impression. Many people can remember vividly the first time they see the ocean, especially those not lucky enough to live near the sea. The twists and turns of a similar highway, State Route 1 of California, are of course seared into my memory. Once, as a storm battered the coast of Northern California, I was driving into the night to visit relatives in a remote seaside cabin. At first it seemed like I would beat the weather, but as I passed through the small town of Fort Ross, the clouds dimmed the last stars and the rain rushed in from the sea like a tsunami. In the dark it was impossible to see the road ahead, and what I could make out chilled me to the bone. Trees swayed like grass in the growing winds, and I could see its effects in the branches and limbs that were strewn across the roadway. It seemed as though the whole world would be washed away into the Pacific, but somehow the landscape held. In Half-Life 2, the waters are instead being siphoned away, revealing the aching skeleton of the coast. It is now a dying place, but it still holds. You still feel the majesty of the landscape, and the receding waters still pull you towards their infinite vista. They're strangely calm, perhaps an artifact of how poor wave simulation would have looked in 2004, or perhaps it is purposeful. Nonetheless, it is both calm and uncanny. The sands too are dangerous in this game. Antlions patrol the beaches like miniature shy halutes, attacking anyone who dares step onto the beach. These creatures build towering sand spires, imbuing the once familiar coast with an alien feeling. I suppose they literally are aliens, after all. Some people find them a little annoying, but I personally love the antlions and how they add to the combat and world building of Half-Life 2. They make each step out of your car in the level feel tense with uncertainty, and each moment spent running them over in your car feel satisfying. The way you eventually gain control over them and use them against your enemies is, in my opinion, one of the high points of the series. Now, while the antlions do dominate the landscape of Highway 17, there are other dangers such as the Combine and headcrabs, though these are more sparse than in previous levels, giving a little bit of quiet in an otherwise fast-paced game. It is a shame that the developers of Half-Life 2 were unable to incorporate the large sea-going monster, known colloquially as the ichthyosaur, into the coastal levels. Even seeing a beached one on the shore would have been a sight to behold. Finding strange and monstrous things beached on the shore is actually one of my hobbies. Some would call it beachcombing, but I honestly think the way I put it sounds cooler. Once while walking along the shore, I came across a Portuguese man-o'-war, which had been tossed onto the sand by the previous night's storm. At sea, it is quite the formidable and feared creature. Certainly, it is capable of killing an unsuspecting swimmer with its sting, but on the shore it seems deflated, small, and unassuming. If I didn't know so much about the dangerous denizens of the sea, I may have decided to pick it up. Instead, I left it there dead and disarmed. Or distentacled, I guess. Something I wish I could find dead on the beach is the mighty oarfish. Though in my opinion, that name does not do it justice. I prefer the more traditional term, the king of herrings. Truly, this fish is regal. I could lay it out and it could stretch from my bed all the way to the gutter in the street, provided that distance is roughly just less than 40 feet. Seeing one of these, even desiccated on the shore, would be ingrained in my mind forever. Highway 17 is ingrained in my mind already. I can see it as a real place, like some kind of malformed memory. The houses in particular coalesce into physical spaces. Each house along Highway 17 has its own character. I'm especially fond of the one where the floor has collapsed into the basement and you have to climb up and face a poisonous head crab zombie. If not for that eldritch creature, this place would hardly be apocalyptic. An abandoned house along a rugged rural coastline isn't anything uncommon. The coasts are in a constant state of flux, and nothing there can last forever. Speaking of things that won't last forever, the deals from this video's sponsor. I'm joking. This video doesn't have a sponsor. I don't want you to have things. What you accumulate in this life, be it goods or services, will only bring you sorrow. Highway 17 at least offers a glimmer of hope for its coastal environment. Amongst all the wreckage, alien creatures, and destructive terraforming, there's still at least seagulls. Personally, I love seagulls, both in real life and in Half-Life 2. Ornithologists will tell you that there are many species of seagull. This is true, but it's not often that important. I made a video once where I identified the species of seagull in Half-Life 2, but even I can't remember what I said it was. I also love that the seagulls in Half-Life 2 will take a shit on your car if you leave it unattended. What a realistic game. Now, I've tried to get them to do this, but the seagulls in the game are also very glitchy. They're more likely to get stuck in the ground than actually soil your vehicle. I'm pretty sure you can also shoot them, but I don't do that because it seems mean. And also, it's bad luck to kill a seabird. In the unused Half-Life 2 level, Lost Coast, an old mariner warns you against shooting the birds because they eat the leeches. Although from personal experience, they don't seem to be doing a very good job of keeping their numbers down. This video is going to be a little different. It's not so focused, more meandering like a river. Coastlines meander in a way that's not so distinct from a river. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about how coastlines are technically infinite because of their fractal nature. If you measure them with a smaller and smaller ruler, they keep getting bigger and bigger. I'm not a mathematician or computer scientist, but I'm pretty sure digital coastlines in video games don't have this property. They are made up of polygons and can be clearly defined and measured. Maybe one day they'll simulate proper fractal coastlines in modern games and I'll finally have a reason to upgrade my gaming rig. The first time I played through Highway 17 was a revelation. Even though I got into PC gaming years after Half-Life 2's release, it was still one of the first games I played, as I didn't quite have a computer that could handle the more modern titles. Still, this game blew me away. It was leagues ahead in graphics, story, and immersion from the arcade games I'd had access to on old plug-and-play consoles. The open spaces of this section of the game really stood out to me, as I had never encountered anything like it before. I could almost feel the ocean air blowing in my face, and the sand vibrating as hordes of antlions attacked. The scale of it all was so much more than in other games I had played. The bridge section is etched into my memory with its dizzying heights and creaking beams. Another main draw of Half-Life 2 compared to other games I had played was to have characters look at you and speak directly, like someone might hold a conversation in real life. Most games at the time did this in strict cutscenes, and the difference is night and day. It's suitably ironic then that Gordon is unable to hold a conversation at all, when at the time of Half-Life 2's release, he was surrounded by the best conversationalists in video game history.
Come on, Gordon, crank that thing!
Personally, I can relate to Gordon. That's why I make YouTube videos instead of talking to people. The Half-Life series loves to return to City 17, but I hope that one day it will circle back to the highway of the same number, which I believe would really shine with updated graphics. One thing I would love to see in an updated version is a tide pool full of strange Zen creatures. Half-Life Alyx did such a great job expanding the strange Zen growths and details you could find around the city, and giving the same treatment to the seaside would be such a treat. Perhaps it is a little greedy of me to want to return to this landscape when I can already see it so clearly in my mind. Whatever details are missing in the original Half-Life 2 version, my mind fills in, which gives the landscape even more life than if it was recreated in perfect high definition. Regardless, it's not clear when or if Half-Life 3 will be released. Maybe it's more likely that we get a sequel to Half-Life Alyx, or perhaps the day after this video comes out, Valve drops the trailer for the vaporware of vaporwares. The future is unknowable. Eventually, the coast of Highway 17 rises up into the towering Nova Prospekt prison complex. Leaving it behind is a shame because it's my favorite section of any video game. Although it is probably good that it doesn't outstay its welcome. Hopefully this video hasn't outstayed its welcome either. If you're still here, thanks for watching.